Let's talk about Bring Her Back.
Bring Her Back. What a bitchin' movie.
Yes, you did like it.
Yeah, I did like it.
I wasn't totally sure.
I was telling all my friends at work how it gave me it was on the same level of weird as Hereditary.
Yeah. It's definitely Hereditary Part 2.
Yeah, it was very that. And the one thing that I wish that they would have done, I'm starting off hot and heavy with a complaint, but it's not even a true complaint. I just wish that we would have had a little bit more backstory from the videography standpoint, from the videos that are in the film, because the movie starts off with you get a flashback on some VHS camera in Russia, Ukraine, or some Slavic nation where they're speaking some Russian derivative, but and then it's just this grainy VHS, and they're recording people in a circle, and they're doing the ritual or whatever. I wish I want to see more of the backstory on that.
Yeah, I don't think that was a terrible request to have. I wish that they hadn't actually even done the VHS rollback, that we just flashbacked. I mean, I guess the movie doesn't have any actual flashbacks, but the movie's definitely a movie. You're not oh my god, well, it's, if we had flashed back to this ritual wherever, and like you said, Ukraine,
right,
that would have taken me out of the movie. I don't feel like it would have. And
no, as a matter of fact, had we begun hot and heavy with that premise, or with that kind of preface rather, it would add further context to the later part of the film, which is actually standalone very good. I really appreciated the depth of the psychological turmoil that each character faced, and I loved the incorporation of the differently abled individuals and how their abilities and disabilities were both showcased in ways that were incredibly unique to the situation. I thought that it was incredibly cool to witness how a woman was able to utilize or rather take advantage of an opportunity to use someone's disability against someone else, which was crazy to me. And I thought that was super interesting. Because that is actually real world application. That is what people do. That is how people act.
Yeah, I don't even think you're doing a good job of not doing any spoilers, and I think that we're going to continue that for a little bit before we go into a spoiler thing. But yeah, that's a really great, this woman, later on, she kind of gets a vindication about she's not totally evil, or she's not totally not evil, or let's just say she's not totally unnormal. But the facts are that her level of manipulation was so off the charts, to weaponize a disabled person, which that's not a spoiler because the film, I think we found that out in the first couple minutes.
Right.
The star of the film is mostly blind. I would say 90,
she can see shadows and light, but that constitutes blindness.
Yeah. You in here, at least in this country, it's way easier because it's set not in America, right? Or
no, it's set in the United States.
Okay, it has a really international feel to me, but here you can see fairly okay and still be considered blind.
Right.
She's definitely on the more blinder side of blind.
Right.
But damn, that woman who you're supposed to feel there is. I mean, the title is Bring Her Back, so you can guess that there's maybe grief involved in some respect. But grieving, or they say jealousy and or lust can really drive somebody crazy. But I don't know. It's she seemed out of the bag, just with all the skill set to be a master manipulator.
It did, and she did go through all 5 stages of grief in the film, and that is something that we do see within the character development, specifically of the older woman who stars in the movie. We watch her as she goes through these stages of grief. It's anger, bargaining, denial. I can't remember what then finally acceptance, but I'm missing one.
It's true. Yeah, right. God, we should look that up, but I don't have a device to. But yeah, acceptance is definitely the last one.
Mm-hmm. But the funny thing about grief, and I learned this a long time ago when I worked with dementia patients, is that people don't experience grief in order, and that the 5 stages of grief will not occur necessarily in the same pattern within everyone. However, they will experience all 5 stages.
That's wild, actually, because acceptance at the end is kind of an important part. So that's crazy, actually. Or would you say the first 4 are shuffled and acceptance is always at the end?
Well, I don't know actually, because you may die before you reach the acceptance stage, and you may reach acceptance before you start bargaining, because you may think, oh, I've accepted this, but what if,
Yeah.
and then you veer back, and it's a cyclical kind of disorder. Grief disorders are cyclical, and speaking of cycles, one of a major theme in the movie is a circle.
Circles are definitely throughout the film. Yeah, and you said something that grief being one of the strongest emotions I think you can feel in life. One of the things that a lot of people go to in grief is like just giving up or wanting to join their loved one or wanting to die, and it's interesting that that's not part of I don't think that's part of the stages of grief, strangely, but that is a reaction to grief that isn't talked about enough. And this woman is an interesting case today because I don't think that we got any inclination that she wanted to do that. She seemed to very much be self-serving, as in like, I want whatever I had.
Denial. That's what I'm missing.
Denial. Yeah, denial. Right. She's in denial, but like,
she was heavily in denial.
She
was somewhere in between the denial and bargaining phases. Yeah. And she was definitely experiencing some anger.
Yeah, and she's a little bit of guilt. I would say her only humanity is that she maybe had the littlest, teeniest bit of guilt. But for the most part, she was kind of like just such an a-hole, because like this was all to serve her. Like the person that she wanted to bring back, her that we're bringing back, would not be in a better place.
And this is the older woman that we're discussing. And we are discussing this older woman who does have someone who is significant to her that has passed away, and she is making some attempt to reconcile that death, and she's using these kind of occult tactics in order to achieve the title, frankly, in order to achieve bringing her back, which her in the story would be someone who is significant to her.
Yeah, and it's weird that considering what we find out to be her background, that she chose this route. So that's another missing piece of the puzzle, is why this route to bring her back.
Because of the bargaining. Because because of her grief, she's now using other people as tokens that she can put forth and utilize as tools in order to achieve her goal.
Yeah, and that is quite also like, not masterful, but just like it's a very strange way to go about things. And I would be curious to see, like, you want to see the backstory about like the rituals and all that. I'm kind of curious about the backstory where this woman and these occult things meet, how they met.
Right? Where did she find this video?
Did the devil come to her? That could be a thing. And did the devil come with videotapes? Because that seems a little less likely. Did he come with laser discs?
Right, but like, she goes through all of these steps and does all of these awful things in order to achieve her goal. And the long and the short of it is that this woman is a foster parent who then has foster children that she uses as tokens to facilitate the reincarnation or reanimation of a dead loved one. And I will not go any further into the storyline than that, but she does use occult methods that she finds in a videotape to achieve these means.
Yeah.
And whether or not she achieves them is to be discovered.
And determined, honestly, because you'll get mixed feelings about the success. It's almost like there's been a ton of films like this where you start one thing and just everything starts catastrophically going wrong, and you dig deeper and deeper into a hole. You know.
But this storyline did play out well. It wasn't necessarily. It's not easy to follow. It's an easy to follow storyline because it is a very streamlined storyline, which is hence why I say like I wish that there was more detail surrounding some of the methods used within the film.
Yeah.
However, that being said, the movie still follows a storyline that it's not necessarily predictable, but it is coherent.
It also raises the question of like this because the main character is disabled, but then other characters will be introduced to. You'll almost be introduced to them as disabled people, but they are in fact not necessarily disabled people, and you'll find out why later. So that was an interesting kind of counterbalance. Like we had a very capable disabled person, and we also had disabled people who weren't actually disabled, not by traditional means.
We experienced people who had been disabled by the occult methods.
So weird, there's been thrillers with blind people before. There's actually a pretty not long history, but I can think even one that comes to mind is this Audrey Hepburn movie. I think it's called like Afraid of the Dark or something like that.
Wow.
So that's like an early blind person movie. And there's nothing.
Bird Box.
Oh yeah.
Not that you have to be blind in that film. Like you cannot look at the entities or they will.
Oh, I think you meant to watch it.
No.
I liked it.
I won't do Sandra Bullock and Sarah Paulson like that.
Sandra Bullock has never done a bad film, in my opinion. She's it's such a
Come on, Miss Congeniality.
It's kind of it's a weird thing to say, but she's she's very like reliable.
She's reliable. She's a reliable actress.
Yeah, she but that would
Practical
be great.
Magic.
Yeah, part 2 coming.
Right.
With Miss AMC herself returning, and then who else? There's a third person or just those two?
I don't know.
I get Hocus Pocus and those mixed up.
Yeah.
The other movie we saw or about to see, we actually saw we saw a lot of Jason movies in a row at Alamo, like a rep house, showing all these old, like we saw like 4 or 5, 6, and I think that's where it ended, right? No, 3, 4, 5, and 6. But we saw some other movies recently that were new too, right?
We saw Final Destination.
That was it. That Charlie XCX. That was one of her favorite series. Apparently, she really wants to do a
Final Destination film.
Yeah, but in her world, with only hot people. Or no, with hot influencers or something like that. I think it was something like that.
All right, Charlie, you sit down.
But I think she wants to be in a Final Destination film.
With hot influencers?
Something like that, yeah.
Baby, it won't break box office records with influencers.
Well, they put Addison in it and like.
I mean, I'm just looking at how talentless influencers.
Actually, to be real, like influencers are still they do.
They're a dying breed.
But like I feel like to fill seats in a movie theater, it's fairly niche. Like like everyone has a different influencer they're into. It's to get an ensemble of influencers, like it wouldn't be the same person that would go for all 5 of those people.
Right.
Like
you can't just get the hype house. You know, like what I mean.
Yeah.
That's
which don't even like. But even if it was like, I guess honestly Noah Beck was hype house adjacent. I think like him. Addison Rae, those would be 2 solid ones. I don't know who the rest of them would be. That would be mainstream.
Hi, sisters.
James Charles,
I would love to see her head get blown off in a film. I would actually love to watch her get like point blank between the eyes. You know what I mean?
That was advertising for House of Wax with Paris Hilton because she was like a kind of a low key influencer before influencers were. But I would say she's just pretty influencer-ish. Anyway, she did a film. And she hadn't done a lot of film, and it was Watch Paris
House
Die.
of Wax.
Yeah, is
that
Paris
the
Day.
one with Jensen Ackles in it?
Yeah, it's one of the Ackles.
Or the Jared Padalecki kid?
One of them.
Yeah, Jared Padalecki.
Jared Padalecki, yeah. And it was people paid a little bit to see Paris Die. But they didn't pay that much. She didn't do that well.
Yeah.
It was not a good film either. Chad Montgomery was in it.
It wasn't a great film.
But so people would maybe watch to see James Charles die. But the thing is that I think James Charles, you'd get more people going to watch James Charles, Like, I feel like some of the people...
Which, speaking of, didn't she get caught again being a predator?
Well, I think what happened was one of his.
She asks kids for nudes. She
Yeah.
does. She asks children for nudes. She's a pedophile.
One of-
James Charles is a pedophile.
One of James's earlier victims, who was I think 14 at the time, who he did ask for nudes repeatedly, and then threatened to expose him if he didn't give the nudes, and to basically blackmail him. Not basically to blackmail him. I forgot what he was threatening. If it was just the conversations they had, or that he was going to threaten that he was gay, or something like that. But he was threatening him to give him nudes as a child, not being James Charles, but his victim. So that guy came out. He's 18 now, I think, because they're growing up. Because it's been that long that he's been at this, and he revealed the screenshots and stuff like that. Yeah. So, but James Charles is still doing. He was at the Met Gala.
He's a pedophile.
Yeah, James Charles, a subject that will never quite go away. Yeah. So Final Destination,
Allegedly. I'll add that so I can't get sued.
Final Destination. Did you like this one? Have you seen the other ones?
It was fine, and yeah, I've seen some of the other ones. I think we watched part 2 the other night.
No, part 1. That was part one.
Final Destination. We watched the first
Yeah.
one the other night, and which was actually really, really, really good. I liked Final Destination, the first one. It was really good.
Did you finish it or?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you see where they're in Paris at the very end, and it's really fun.
Oh, I did watch it. Huh.
It was really good, but yeah, I think the Final Destination franchise certainly has it has good moments. It has pretty cool moments. The famous log truck scene, for Christ's sake, that's got everybody terrified of driving behind log trucks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's part 2. Yeah, I think.
That's like one of the most influential pieces of horror right there.
Yeah.
And even on like a day-to-day, you probably think about that scene every time you drive behind a log truck or beside a log truck.
I mean, it's life. Like anything could happen, you know.
It's so true.
So.
And they really play on that. Now, in this newest version of Final Destination, they really play on like the chain of events that occur prior, and they really, really heavily they hit home a lot. They really emphasize the theme of chain reactions within this last one.
Yeah, and we all know that they've been connecting Final Destinations to each other forever. There's one, I think it's part 5, where I can't spoil that movie because it's so good. That movie is above all was like, and it basically ties back to the first one, and I won't tell you how, but that movie, I need to watch. Now that you've seen part 1, I want you to see that one. It's so fucking good, and I love that movie, and it was the first movie to do that. When you see it, you'll know what I mean.
Right.
And it really turned the whole series on its head and the whole mythos. In this one, Tony Todd is he was the mortician. He's also in part 1. He's in all of them, but he looks so different because he is now unfortunately passed from cancer, and so this was his last role, I believe, and he knew death was coming for him, and so it's a very interesting role that he takes in this series, kind of his swan song. Pretty interesting deaths. The characters aren't always meant to be likable, you know? Charlie's whole thing about how the Final Destination movies are hot people dying, no one was hot in this film, I don't think, right?
No.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, no one was hot in part 5. The main character.
No, this isn't part 5. This is.
Or part 6.
Yeah, people. Yeah.
The main character is actually.
This is 9.
The female lead from Sinners.
She is?
Yep.
Weird.
Yep. She's the female lead from Sinners, and which good for her. She's getting parts right now. I don't know her name, but I will at some point. Like, she seems to be getting traction in cinema, which is good for her. Honestly, get work where you can find it and star where you can.
I mean, these are great. I mean, I haven't seen. We started watching Sinners. We're gonna review that soon. I couldn't get into it. I fell asleep. But we have
it's
Sinners.
interesting.
Sinners.
I don't know the backstory yet. Like, we haven't quite reached that point in the movie,
Yeah.
but
Everybody, half of the people like it, I feel like.
yeah, it is definitely it definitely tells a more mythology aside and magic and all that garbage aside, it does tell a fairly accurate depiction of the Old South.
Oh, that's pretty
So,
cool. Yeah, and I know, and we know that there's
and
a
it does
crossroads.
pay homage to the Old South quite often, and just how the culture was there.
Huh. Yeah,
But,
we'll finish that too after Until Dawn as well tonight. But I would, yeah, Final Destination. I would recommend at home. I think Bring Her Back. I recommend it at theater. Don't would you agree with that? Or would you say Bring Her Back would be as effective in the?
Bring Her Back is along the same lines and in a very similar vein to Hereditary. It is not on the same level.
Do you think Hereditary is better?
Oh my god. Hereditary is up there for me. As far as like campy movies go, everybody in that film acted their absolute heart out. Like everybody in Hereditary did a phenomenal job. Everybody in Bring Her Back, I cannot say did their phenomenal job.
Yeah. Who do you think was the weakest actor?
The weakest link was definitely the boy.
The boy.
The teenage boy.
Oh.
I think she was good.
Sometimes it be your own people.
Well,
Like this twink against twink crime.
well, to be honest with you, he's not really the one that I thought did the worst. But I'm gonna choose him because he's not disabled.
Oh.
But you know, I mean,
Yeah, we don't really. We need to look behind the actress that's in Bring Her Back. The main actress. I did kind of think the same thing. I was like,
I thought she was a little weak. I wonder if directors are scared to give direction to those who are differently abled because they don't want to be considered to be like ableist or something.
yeah.
But like, if you can, eyes aside, if you can like add inflection to your words, like that's a totally different skill.
We're going with the like, we know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
I kind of, in the fairness to like, I don't really give a shit if you're disabled or not. Like, I think that like I mean, I respect her like that. I'm not like, oh, is she really disabled? Like, whatever. Like, if the actress was acting disabled or the actress was disabled, I feel like I shouldn't even know. So we didn't look it up to see if she was disabled. So I'm not entirely sure that she is disabled.
I mean, I don't think that they would have hired a completely able-bodied actress to play a blind woman like that just in 2025 or 2024 when it was filmed, rather. But
I don't know. But
I mean, I don't know, and especially A24. A24 is all about branching out and doing stuff like that. They love they love a moment where they're like, oh, we're breaking barriers and we're really like tearing things down, and they do a good job at that. They're a great studio when it comes to breaking barriers. However, not every barrier that they break they do fantastically at, but that's not to say that they're not the first to do it. You know, I mean, this was definitely, it's not the first movie of its kind, nor is it, the best movie of its kind, but it's not the worst movie of its kind. So,
I mean, yeah, the lady was super annoying to me. The main lady,
Yeah.
not the main girl, but the main lady who you'll know who she is when you meet her. I found her really.
this movie does a very good job of making you do this.
Yeah, it was
Like,
very
it's a very aggravating film, which is exactly the feeling that I think they were going for.
Yeah, no, for sure. Kind of like Death of a Unicorn in that regard. That like,
Yes!
they really want you to be frustrated with the characters.
Death of a Unicorn. They wanted you to be frustrated.
I don't bring her
And Jenna
back.
Ortega was phenomenal in that film.
Yeah, that was a good movie. It did not get enough love. I feel like you had to stick with it too.
Yeah,
And
but it was very accurate in how they portray the wealthy.
I feel like kids who watch that movie now, that's going to be like a cult favorite of theirs.
Oh, probably.
Like, I think it's rare that you see a film and they're like, oh, this is like a cult film. I think Death of a Unicorn, like to kids like in 15, 20 years, that's going to be like a cult film that they're going to like, oh,
Right.
like that no one's going to remember.
Right.
But like someone's gonna like kind of discover and be like, oh, this is really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a fun movie. Yeah. I think with Bring Her Back, I think it has a magic, like that. Even though it's imperfect, highly imperfect, Like,
It does. It does have a magic to it, and I'm really impressed with their ability to emphasize specific themes. I'm very impressed with their ability to utilize themes in multiple ways that you don't necessarily recognize. I was all for the subliminal messaging. There's a circle in every shot.
yeah.
There's a circle in every shot, which is absolutely phenomenal that they were able to maintain that kind of or that level of theme.
Yeah.
Which I think when you focus too heavy on the details, you can kind of get lost in the storyline, which is what I wonder if that happened within this film. They were just so focused on like, oh, we have to be like subliminal, or we have to like really emphasize this, and we have to be super artsy, so like they kind of like lost a little bit of like effort elsewhere. However, that being said, I think that the movie overall is pretty, for full pun intention, well-rounded.
Yeah, and they try, they do that writing thing that I feel like half the scripts go through some sort of cheesy workshop, like where like even like in the beginning of the film there's another death of a family member, and they had to make that more complex and just being the death of a family member because it really doesn't need to be more complex than that. But it did tie into the plot a little bit, like where we made some things like
it tied into the plot because it
helped.
it was a haunting
manipulation.
experience for certain characters, and it did in fact influence a lot of their behavior within the film.
And it aided in the manipulation of the older woman.
It did. Did. So
but-
the theme was carried out even in dialogue, but
I would
it was
have liked
overplayed.
to seen more from like the council worker or
The social worker.
The social worker. I feel like she. I mean, I wouldn't say she was weak, but I felt that like we could have, because she definitely was oppositionally like not. She wasn't helping in a way that we thought was helpful. She definitely did not just easily be like, oh, I believe everything.
As far as acting social, like actors who have played social workers go, Monique takes the cake.
Oh. No, wait. No, that was Mariah. Mariah was playing the social worker.
No, Monique played the social worker.
Oh, yes.
In the Deliverance.
Yeah. Monique Forever is tied to Precious to me. But yes, the Deliverance, which we watched for the second time just last night.
I loved it.
We introduced it to a friend.
of ours.
Who doesn't even like horror films, because we promised him that whatever this is,
It's not scary.
It's not that. But Monique's triumphant return to the big, well, Netflix. But Lee Daniels and her coming back together was a really nice reunion of sorts. That movie is interesting on levels that no one will ever be able to explain. Especially, I don't know how that film plays out to an international audience, because like the nuances.
That is a very nuanced film.
Yeah.
And I will say
That's
that if you don't understand
culture, like American,
the variety of American culture, then you probably, and the specific nuance provided by said culture, then you probably would not understand.
Yeah. And I love it for that.
Film.
Like, and then it goes.
It's almost like what is that movie that had? What is that movie that we saw where they go like to the Irish countryside and they're like a family and they go visit another family and the kid has.
Oh yeah, so we saw the American. Did we saw that in the theater or did we see that?
Yeah,
on
we
video?
saw that in theater. I think.
Yeah, like so I love the original movie that he's talking about. Is one of the most haunting and fucked up movies I've seen in decades. So it was originally called, fuck, it's on the tip of my tongue. But we saw the trailer for that film like when we first started dating. We saw that trailer like 75 times.
Yeah, we did.
And I can't remember the name of it to save my life. I feel like it's called like something really simple, like not the coincidence, or it's like called like
I can't
Speak
remember.
No Evil.
Speak No Evil. Yes. See, if you understand the nuances of like Irish culture, or not Irish culture, but in like
the original was Dutch versus Danish.
Yes,
and then
if you understand like the nuances of like English versus Scottish culture,
yes,
then you'll understand this film a lot better. Just like if you understood the nuance between the original two cultures and
Yeah.
that in the original film, you would be horrified and probably understand it on a
I need
level
to-
that's a little deeper.
Yeah, we need to watch the original version of Speak No Evil, the Danish Dutch version. That movie is fucking like a masterpiece, and it's insane. And it reminds me of Michelle Haneke a lot, like Funny Games and stuff like that. Really, really good film. But Speak No Evil was not bad. The remake was not bad, but it was definitely more palatable. The other one, man, it was the most downtrodden sort of like movie that it's really crazy, but really interesting. Yeah, the Deliverance is really special. And then the Deliverance just goes into like a straight like back in the Exorcist days when there was blaxploitation films and films like The Exorcist happening simultaneously. There was even a crossover this film called Abby, which was a blaxploitation Exorcist film. So Deliverance actually doesn't go in that scene. Like it's just really just cultural nuance, kind of interesting, like slow burn, like lots of things going on, and then it just goes full blaxploitation, like exorcism movie, which is fucking kind of like, which was deliberate.
Because they did do that. It's like watching two films in one,
It
like
is,
two
yeah.
totally different movies in one.
Totally.
Like watching the backstory of the characters and the character development and the really good part of the movie where the good acting happens.
Yeah.
And then there's like the second part.
There's a second, which they're equally. I mean,
They're equally fascinating.
yeah, they are.
They are. It's like
It's
you watch this completely rational woman who's dealing with her real life problems turn into this, or meet a preacher lady who then just says fuck all to rationale and Jesus is king, and then you watch blaxploitation occur in that capacity where of course naturally religion being a pinnacle of that specific culture because of oppression comes to light.
Yeah, in control.
Right, exactly.
So it's nuts. So that's a great recommendation that you should see. That most people have Netflix, so I wouldn't say it's free, but it's like accessible.
Right.
And you should see Precious, of course, too.
Of course.
God.
Who's gonna love me?
Yeah, he does a good Monique. But yeah, I would say those two films. Oh yeah, back to Final Destination. Yeah, I thought everybody acted terribly in Final Destination.
They did terrible.
Yeah,
that was awful. And
Yeah.
and I mean, I think that they were really focused on like just the action of it all, like just the actions of the death. Like they were really focused on the special effects and less on the acting, which is fine if you like an action film. But like personally, I didn't care for the penny situations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I didn't really care to watch the Space Needle.
Oh, no way. Okay, so that was the better acted of. Actually, I forgot about that entirely. The retro Final Destination, like what we were complaining about and bring her back, like wanting to go back and not watch the videotape. Well, in Final Destination, they do that. There's no videotape. There's no old timey.
They just flashback.
They just flash you back. Yeah.
They just take you back to the 50s and then bring you back to the present.
Yep. And that was honestly, it wasn't my favorite part, but I mean it was better produced, I feel like. So it's weird that you could have done without that at all. The whole flashback.
It wasn't that I could have done without it. It was just a played theme throughout the movie that you don't really see until the end again. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, it's like, oh, there's the penny. Oh, shoot, there's the penny again. Oh, there's the penny.
Yeah.
It's
I don't
like,
know.
okay, we've seen this like a million times by this point.
I could deal with that too. The penny.
Which we don't see that in any of the other films.
Yeah, no, the penny wraps around the entire story of this family that's featured in this new Final Destination film, and the penny, honestly, I could give an F about as well. The whole family is actually kind of atrocious. Like,
Yeah.
The one that's the most obnoxious does die in the best way. But
which one was that?
the MRI situation.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
tattoo boy.
Yeah, and we won't say like, but there's technically that's a bystander death, which is bizarre.
Right.
And that was
He wasn't even part of the main.
But you do good job. We caught it just in time. Yeah, so you'll see what we mean with that. That's probably my favorite. All his deaths and near deaths are kind of my favorite. Terrible person, but yeah, everyone's terrible in Final Destination.
Yeah, their acting was awful in that movie.
Yeah, but the people are also awful. The characters are awful too.
Yeah, the characters are stupid. Like a lot of them are like cliches.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are just like. It's like I don't know.
You might say, "Oh, you guys you find them so annoying. They did a good job of being annoying. They're actually good actors." No, they were awful actors and also annoying.
The characters were poorly written,
Yeah.
and the direction was poorly executed.
Yeah.
Granted, I won't say that they're terrible actors, but I will say that the direction that they received was in fact terrible.
I'd say both. The deaths were well planned. I like the deaths. The deaths were decent. Even the Space Needle deaths. I kind of liked how that played out a little bit. I mean, the Penny thing is dumb, but I almost think that someone wrote, because I do like the Penny death. And maybe someone was like, "Oh, this Penny death is so awesome." Like, "Oh, how it happened in there." You're like, "Why don't we make that a theme throughout the movie?" And that was like a bridge too far. Like, the Penny was fine.
Whatever that writer's room was full of had to be cocaine.
Yeah, that's one of the things that a lot of these films have that in common. Is that,
or better yet, there was no writer's room. It was all AI.
Yeah, maybe.
This very well could have been a ChatGPT doctored movie.
I'm kind of sick of writers' rooms. I'm kind of thinking maybe if you don't have the talent to just write a good story, that maybe like no matter, because writers' rooms are essentially ChatGPT.
That's not to say that you should be using ChatGPT to write your films, because we are not animatronics. We would like to see creativity, depth, and depth of character.
I got to write a hell of a Scooby-Doo episode. But ultimately, I think
You wrote a Scooby-Doo episode?
No, I had ChatGPT do it. I told him, "Oh, you guys should write Scooby-Doo's not on the air anymore, baby." Oh, but you know what? That'd be
They constantly reboot that show.
Yeah, that's true.
There have been 17 different versions of that.
Every new
They milk that so hard.
Dog, they milk that dog.
They even did a supernatural crossover.
That was decent. They definitely writers' room every Scooby-Doo recent movie. I'm sick of writers' rooms. Like, I just feel like people need to stop, because it's like a shittier ChatGPT, honestly, right? Trying to brainstorm something that shouldn't even be. If y'all had no idea walking into the room, you having an idea after it. I feel like a lot of music is like that too. I feel like Lady Gaga.
I did overhear a conversation at the pool the other day. Like these three guys who were just shooting the shit, and one of them came up with an actually pretty decent piranha movie, which is I'm cool with. Like I love a good B movie, and Piranha is fucking funny.
What was it?
It was piranhas live up under Edward's aquifer.
Okay.
And there's like a tectonic shift or an earthquake in Austin.
Yeah.
And all of the piranhas just get released into Barton Springs at the same time. And then like because of the pollution in the aquifer, they're like mutated or something, and they like learn how to get on land or some shit.
Oh, wow.
I don't remember. It sounded a lot better. Like
no, there's been a movie like that actually. There's all these. They're called nature's revenge films,
right?
Or like
oh yeah, there are nature revenge films, like the one where like the wind blows and people like kill themselves.
Yeah. Oh, The Happening.
That was
interesting. Yeah, Marky Mark's in that. It's a terrible actor. But interesting concept of the movie. I like Shyamalan. It's interesting. Sometimes you don't have to be good. You just have to be interesting.
You just have to be interesting.
You know?
Right.
And so, like, I mean, I don't expect a lot. What I don't find interesting are fucking writers' rooms and ChatGPT. Like, I wish that people had a little bit more heart and soul into these stories, or a little bit of experience.
Right, right. Like, if you're going to write a script, just write the script.
The Bringer Back guys, we did not mention, but they're from the team that did Talk to Me. I think it's better than Talk to Me. But do you think it's better than Talk to Me?
Honestly, I like to Talk to Me a little bit more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like to Talk to Me a little bit more just because, like, I feel like that storyline was a little further developed.
That's interesting to say.
I feel like the only reason I say that storyline was more developed is because it's a significantly smaller storyline in that it follows the series of events over and over and over, or that like the storyline isn't very deep. Rather, like you get a pretty good and decent idea of the movie pretty soon, but at the same time they're able to just prolong that theme. Whereas with Bring Her Back, they're trying to do all of these ifs, ands, and buts within the storyline to make it all fit together, and it's just a little bit more complicated in ways that it shouldn't be. It should be just as... I hate to say this, but Bring Her Back should have been more simplified, like Talk to Me was simple.
Interesting.
Talk to Me was easy. It was easy. It was simple. It was wrapped up tight with a little bow. It may not have been the cutest or prettiest gift, but it was a gift nonetheless. Whereas like with Bring Her Back, you've got like a bow and another bow and like more wrapping paper that doesn't necessarily match this wrapping paper.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Bring Her Back is kind of overwrought.
It's definitely that.
I did like it more, but
and overwritten.
It is a little overwritten, yeah. Especially considering that we don't get enough for all that overwriting.
We don't.
Like it doesn't actually.
Like they didn't overwrite in the ways that they should have. Like if you're gonna overwrite, at least overwrite in the backstory capacity.
Yeah, we know,
you know
nothing
what I mean?
about.
But we don't know anything about the. Yeah,
we just had a lot of shit being thrown at the wall.
Right. It's just to see what sticks.
Yeah, and it relies heavily on imagery too.
Yeah, which is pretentious in my opinion because they're like, oh, we have to be like cinematically appealing. Like, bro, you can't write a movie solely based except for violent nature. That's the only
I still really like that.
that I like with a visuals that exceed the storyline.
I think about that film.
However, Bring Her Back's visuals did not exceed the storyline.
Yeah, that film is so interesting and weird. Like,
there's a film called Violent Nature, and if you haven't seen it, just check it out. The murders are crazy, but at the same time, it's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
It's just, if you like nature, at least.
No, for sure. And it's shot like on some crazy video camera. Like, it's like not old, but like old.
Yeah.
And I think it looks so interesting.
So it's really saturated, slightly grainy. It's you feel like you're watching like a really good, it's filmed in the spring. It's pretty.
It's my favorite.
It's filmed in the mountains.
Yeah, I like that film against bigger budget films as well, but I think it was a pretty micro budget. And that film I also really love. Yeah, that's good. I'm glad you like that too. We saw that. I think we actually saw it on Baby's Day. So like I was like, why the fuck are these subtitles everywhere? And because the Baby Day had like closed captioning and stuff like that.
No, that's not Baby Day.
No, it was. I looked later on the tickets. It was Baby Day.
Oh.
And then nobody, because there was a baby screaming too, but we didn't really notice it. I thought that was just weird that they brought the baby to that. But then like with on Baby Day they have like closed captioning.
Did we see that in theater?
Yeah.
We saw Violent Nature in theater?
Yeah. We did. Yeah, at AMC.
Oh, okay. No wonder. I'm thinking Baby Day at Alamo, because it's like a totally different vibe.
Yeah, it just wasn't that many babies. But they have subtitles.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super annoying because it just felt like I was watching like a DVD. I hate subtitles so much. I mean, I like them okay on a foreign film, but I don't like the closed captioning. That's what I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
It just takes me out of the movie. But yeah, I would say that's good. That probably would wrap up our movie thing for today. We have Switch launch content and Switch review content.
Yeah, we need to record a Switch review.
Yeah, so I'm gonna open. We'll open on mine. We'll do that part. So that'll be that. But I think this is good for tonight. For today. For this moment.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.